Hi, my name is Kecia, and I am from Noonan, Georgia, and I went to City of Hope for my treatment. My breast cancer journey started in 2020, and it started in April of 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. So a lot of the facilities everywhere the town, of course, was closed down. And I originally had went to my primary doctor for to renew my prescription because it was that time of where I had to go and renew my prescription. I had to see my physician. Well, at the time, it was around October-ish, close to October of 2019 when I had found a lump when I was in the shower. And I thought, oh, is this a mosquito bite? And then I go, because it was itching, and I go in to itch it, and I realized that no, this is a mosquito bite. And I started to get a little bit panicky, but I calmed myself down. At that moment, I'm like, okay, well, my job, they usually bring the mobile mammogram to the job. And I figure, okay, well, I'll just wait till the mobile mammogram time comes. And I went to ask my work to see, when the mobile mammogram was because I wanted to be ready for that. And they said, well, we're not having it this year. So I'm like, okay, well, I have my appointment with my primary doctor in March, April, and for my renewal of my medication. So I'll just go ahead and let her know then. So I did that. And when the time came, I let my primary doctor know that, hey, I found this lump, just wanted to let you know. And so she checked it and I could see the concern. And at that point, she said she was going to refer me out to a more technical type of mammogram so they can look into it. When I got that mammogram and ultrasound, they told me that it shows, concern. So they were going to have me go to have a needle guided ultrasound to look more further into it. So at that point, um, my first place I was going to was Piedmont. At that point, I'm like, no, I want to go to City of Hope. So I called City of Hope, and from there got my appointment for the needle guided ultrasound. Well, when I got the results back, it was showed that it was cancer, breast cancer, and all these appointments. They started giving me all these appointments, a bunch of appointments. So initially, when I got this diagnosis, of course, with any cancer diagnosis, it's the fear. Am I going to die? How much time do I got left? All that kind of stuff. That fear inside is real. Um, the anxiety inside is real. So eventually, when I got my first oncology appointment, she basically went through that. Hey, you're going to have these 16 rounds of chemo. The first set is going to be the Red Devil. Then you'll have a CT scan, make sure that the chemo is working, and then the 12 rounds of Taxol. First, we're going to go ahead and do the port and put the port in, have surgery for that. Um, and then immediately you start chemo. Okay. Well, right before chemo, I had very long hair. So I called my friend and I told her, can I go ahead and get my hair cut, about up to my shoulders because I wanted somebody to benefit from my hair. I wanted to do this without chemo being in my hair. So 12 inches got cut off. I went into chemo. I was scared because you hear all these stories. Oh my gosh, is it going to burn you? Is it going to this? Is it going to that? So I was scared. I went into the first chemo. Everything went pretty good. A couple days later, I started getting sick. And the Red Devil, you take some people will do it every other week. Some people, if they can't handle it, it's every 3 weeks. So at that point, a couple days, like I said, went, after having the Red Devil, I was getting sick and didn't really want to get out of bed or anything like that. Then after that, I started feeling better, started getting normal. It was a second chemo treatment of Red Devil. is when my hair started falling out a lot. So I was in the shower and my hair really started falling out a lot. And I started crying in the shower because like reality started kicking in. At this point, I started praying in the shower and I was like, God, I really, really need you to help me get through this because I'm struggling. And I knew that I had to trust in God at this point. And I asked him, please, please just give me peace through this. Give me a way to find peace. And so, of course, I had to trust. I had to trust in him because I knew that he was the only one that could get me through this. I remember getting out of the shower and I remember falling to my knees and telling God, all right, I know that you are the one that's going to get me through this. I trust you. I know that there's nothing I can do right now. I can't change the situation. I just have to go through it. And with giving that trust to him, it made me realize that, okay, here's where I find my peace. And the peace is what you have to get in order to get through the whole journey. I felt this huge peace knowing that with him, all things are possible. I had to let it all go and just give it all to him. That feeling of peace that came over me is something that's just undescribable, but you'll know when you feel it. From that point, I knew that it's okay. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to fight. And I will do this. I got God right there. He has my back. So as the chemo started going, got through the second round, go through the third round. It gets a little bit worse as time goes by. We get to the CT scan, and of course, with other scans that I had in the beginning, I had MRIs, I had tons of appointments. The breast surgeon, the oncologist, the oncology for radiation, everything. So all these appointments, and usually scans, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if it's in my body? What if it's this? What if it's that? This CT scan, before I got ready to start Taxol, I had no fear at all that if chemo was working or not. I knew the chemo was working. And so I go through the CT scan, they give me the results. They say the chemo's working, everything's on track. I was like, this is great. I knew my trust in God was going to get me through this. After that, I started Taxol. You can even tell I was on chemo when I was on Taxol. I was just like a normal person. But Taxol, with the steroids and everything like that, pre-meds, I gained a lot of weight. But that's okay. I was good. I was happy all the time. Everything was good. Got through that. September 11th, I went and rang that bell, finished chemo. Off to the next thing was my mastectomy. Got through the mastectomy. I was scared, but got through it. No problem. Next thing I did, because during the mastectomy, I got my expanders in and then I had to do radiation. Radiation was a little bit of a struggle. I had to do 28 rounds of radiation. No, 28 rounds, something like that, of radiation. I went and saw pictures of the aftermath of people doing radiation, and it was awful. And I was so scared, but I got through it. I went in, did like 3 things of different types of creams to put on, between creams, Vaselines, a real aloe plant. I used the aloe they gave me in the tube at City of Hope. Got through all that. I had very minimal burning. When it came to City of Hope, my favorite oncologist was Dr. Rich. The nurses on her team were great. I'm still in contact with all of them. But they loved having me as a patient. It was like the joy, the laughter, everything like that. It was awesome. it's pretty cool to see one of the schedulers I still see there because I go still every week and every month. Uh, Joe, he's awesome. Uh, the Dr. Durden, he was my breast surgeon, my plastic surgeon. He's amazing. And the one thing I can respect about him is his rules, because he wants his best to show because he's good at what he does. Um, Everybody's been so amazing there. The cancer fighters, I didn't get that opportunity in 2020 to go in person because of COVID. Um, but the great thing when it came to my chemo treatments too, the great thing is I was able to bring in at least one caregiver, not at least, but one caregiver. Okay, so that one caregiver during those rounds of chemo, I got to bring. It didn't have to be the same person, but I brought my aunt, I brought my fiance, I brought a couple people from work. I was able to bring my older kids, friends, everything like that, so they could see what I'm going through. And it was my support team. So people from church, um, just so they can see that, hey, Kecia's doing okay. And they absolutely loved, the facility. Um, so with that being said, I definitely love the positivity. I love the fact that, you know, a difference to going from a public hospital that has all this, everybody's coming in, it's not all cancer people, but going to City of Hope where it's just all pure cancer patients. So we all know what we're all going through, the fear, the tears, the crying, the trying to find that peace within you when it comes to a cancer diagnosis. Because at times, I mean, it's not like, hey, yay, we got this cancer diagnosis and go on with it. No, we have to be there for each other, no matter what kind of cancer it is. Um, my cancer diagnosis was invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 2, uh, A or B, because I got diagnosed with one lymph node involved, so it tested positive. So, I mean, when cancer fighters, opened up, I remember like the realism of sitting down and doing some coloring with some other cancer fighters in there and, you know, hearing their story. And they were terminal and it broke my heart. But to see the positivity in them and the laughter and the smiles, no, them not knowing what lies ahead for them. But again, we can all sit down and we can all talk and share our stories and be able to just understand each other. So again, when it came to going to a public hospital versus City of Hope, it was such a relief because of the fact that we were all in this together, no matter what diagnosis, and the welcoming atmosphere. It's not just a gloomy type of place. Um, During Christmas, seeing just all the joy, the Christmas tree when you walk in, just the holidays, the spirit, everything. And to be able to celebrate my 5 years this year was truly amazing. And it was just such a surreal experience. And, of course, I have some friends that work there. And I've even made friends that I didn't know outside of City of Hope. And now I know them and, them cheering me on and walking that red carpet with other survivors because we were all in this together. And, just so many smiles. And it was really, really amazing. And to see like other survivors get up and talk, as a guest speaker there, it was really cool. Um, so I love the fact that City of Hope just is not just a hospital, but it's something like, amazing. It's family oriented. You know, they're just there for you and so positive. And I know that it's hard for them too because they don't know what that person life lies ahead of them, so I definitely love just all the stuff that they do for patients there and try to not make it such a gloomy place for a cancer center. Um, and I love the facility, um, and the friends, and like I said, it's just a great place, and I wouldn't tell anyone to go anywhere else. I love City Hope. And you know, with me, when it comes to City of Hope, I mean, who really wants to go to a hospital early on their appointments, like super early? I'll go hours early sometimes and go over to cancer fighters. And I know that I could sit down and color or do some puzzles or take a class or stuff like that. Usually when you go to doctor's appointments, like I'm gonna try and get there just like if it's 10 o'clock, I'm gonna get there like 5 minutes before. No, I'll get there a couple hours before, I'll stay later or meet up with other people, and we might eat lunch together and go hang out at the cancer fighters area. So it's a really good place. And like I said, celebrating um this 5 year survivorship was just amazing. I can't even put it into words just how amazing it was. And being able to take my family down that red carpet with me and celebrate. I know the biggest thing um is when we got the bag and I kind of cheated and opened up the gift because I didn't know. And I open it up, and my fiance, he starts tearing up because it was my leaf. And now I walk into the cancer center. I walk in there, and in City of Hope, and they have a wall with all the leaves from different years, and to be able to look up on the wall and see my name and see all these survivors, and I'm included on that wall, and it's awesome. I definitely would encourage for anyone is to find that peace within you when it comes to the diagnosis, and just know that you're not alone. And when you feel that fear and when you want to cry and you feel angry and feel uncertainty, just know that you're okay. And I tell this to everybody when they first get diagnosed with breast cancer, the fear, the oh my gosh, all that stuff. Just know that you're okay. Everybody goes through this when they get that diagnosis. I did too.